What's up, everyone, and welcome to the Nickel City Rush Hour. We're going to get into our thoughts on the Bears versus Bills preseason action, amongst other things. Uh, Please be sure, as you enter the room, as you rewatch this, to smash that like button and drop a nickel on that subscribe button, which I always say it greatly helps us, and we certainly appreciate it. Jake, I want to say sorry for the delay. I'm on here. I'm actually on early, right? I'm getting all prepped, and you join, and you can't hear me. I'm like, what the heck's going on? Microphone issue. Had to reboot the soundboard, and we're back. How you doing, my friend?
I'm doing well, Mike. Hand up on me, too. I joined at 9:58, so we could have gotten this resolved easily, right?
Yeah.
So my fault as well. Don't you even worry about it. It's all good. But we're here. Yeah, it was, football's all the way back, safe to say, but definitely not the performance I think we were expecting, And I know it's just preseason, but we'll dive into it. But
Yeah.
excited for the show.
Yeah. Doggone it. Good to see you out there. Go Bills podcast is out there today. Thank you for joining us. Dennis Pavlak. Appreciate you being out there. So this could be a fun one. I always say that, but they're all fun, aren't they, Jake? Everything's
Oh,
fun
yeah.
when you're talking about the Bills. Although I don't know, may have some different opinions on preseason. But first, Jake, we learned some things from the kickoff rule. We saw it in action, live and in color for the first time, and I was actually right. We got to see a safety, and they had to kick off, and it was
Yeah.
all in the. There was some crazy things. We're going to play it. I got some video. Let me set this up, and it was from the Jaguars and the Chiefs game. So let me go over there. Let me take our banner off real quick so we can see this nicely. And I'm going to pull this up right now. And oops, let's switch that over here. And let's get this right. And let's see, there we go. All right. So let me restart this. And it's kind of fun here. So this is the Chiefs game. Here we go. It's kind of fun. This is a nice return, but it seems like schoolyard, backyard football here. Watch this play here. Here we go. I'm not sure who the kicker is. And I noticed a lot of these kickers now trying to kick a knuckleball, which is fantastic because that ball is going to be moving. Look at this guy. Whoop.
DJ Washington,
whoop,
baby.
Whoop.
Put some respect
Look
on that
at this.
kid's name.
Look at this. Boom.
Yep.
Fantastic. I don't know how many other exciting things. I'm sure this was one game that flashed this one. We'll watch it from behind here. Again, watch the kicker.
Harrison Butker,
They
by the way.
seem to kind of do this little knuckleball thing, which is cool. I've seen it give some people some problems on kickoffs this weekend. Here we go. Beautiful. I mean, well, we got some more from
this is going to be really interesting as we move forward because there are some kickers out there, Harrison Butker being one of them, but like Chris Boswell, I don't know if you remember, he used to do like the trick onside kicks for the Steelers, so it's going to be definitely going to be interesting as we move forward how innovative these kickers are going to be, when they do kick the ball off. So
yeah,
cool example right there for sure.
I agree. I think I even saw Bass try it as well, but I saw some other plays where kickers were using the knuckleball, and some of those receivers or the kickoff returners were having a tough time. Is there something else that happened? This is, you'll be like scratching your head a little bit. Let's see it and let's describe what happens and why it is the call it is. So there's the kickoff. These guys look at it. It actually lands in the end zone, Jake, and comes outside. And then I forget who the returner was. Was it McCole Hardman, I think?
I think it's McCole Hardman. Yeah. Yep.
So let's watch it again. So this ball is going to land in the end zone. How crazy is it that it actually comes out to the one? McCole Hardman takes it and picks it up and pulls it back in the end zone. Guess what? They initially called it. Even the refs, people are struggling with this. Even the refs. Oh, I want to pause this real quick. This is fun. Even the refs are struggling because at first they called it, I think, to the 30. So if the kick didn't go into the end zone, if the player had gotten it in the end zone before it came onto the field or back on the playing field and he downed it, he gets it at the 30-yard line. But the key thing here, Jake, is everything's still in play. Last year, that ball hits in the end zone, dead ball. It's basically you're getting it at the 25-yard line. No longer. That ball's in play. So someone has to go back there and field it and make a play on it. And even if it was in the end zone, somebody has to go and make a play. If the defense gets there, that's a touchdown, my friend. It's a touchdown.
Yeah.
So that was crazy. And then you and I were talking about, the safety situation, right? So that's a safety. and we were talking about, wow, how are they going to kick the ball? And you said, it's punter. I'm like, I think they can use a tee. Then I backtracked after I read some old rules where they couldn't use a tee. But guess what, Jake? They're using a tee here to kick this one off. So here it is after a safety. This is what it looks like.
And by the way, that was ruled a safety, that last play.
Yes. And then watch this. This is another nice, exciting little run from this guy here. Boom. Now look at this. This is funny. Bucker wants nothing to do with that. I want you to watch this closely because it's going to play again. If this guy doesn't trip, the turf monster doesn't trip him, he's going to the house. But Bucker's like, I'm not getting hurt in preseason. So keep a close eye on Bucker. Remember, on this, the kickers cannot go past the 50-yard line until the player has the ball or it hits the ground. Here we go. This guy's got a clear seam. He's gone. Bucker says, I'm not even going after him, but he trips on the turf monster, and boom, he would have been it would have been a touchdown, I think, if he doesn't trip. So a couple cool things that we learned. We learned on the safety, the kicking team can use a tee.
Yep.
And we learned the new the safety, the ball's in play at all times. You have to go do something with it, whether it's in the end zone. Now, if it went out of the end zone, kicked into the end zone, out of the end zone, you get it at the 30-yard line. But man, interesting stuff there, huh?
Very interesting. Yeah, and we did see that yesterday with Tyler Bass as he kicked one out of the end zone. And Steve Tasker was even like, I think they're starting at the 30. He wasn't even fully sure on it. So it's kind of funny. We're struggling with these rules, but it's new to everyone. So we're all getting acclimated to it. And you know what? I'm here for it. It doesn't look great, and I understand the concerns with it. Actually, I had a really good conversation with their boy Sean Cooley yesterday. Shout out to you, Sean. Listen, I know you said we don't shout you out in these shows enough, so I'm going to give you a shout out real early. Not even 7 minutes in, and I'm already giving our boy a shout out. So we did have a good conversation about it, though, because, obviously it makes things a little bit harder on the defense as if it wasn't hard enough, right? Because basically the field position for the offense is most likely going to be at least at the 25-yard line or better, just based on what we've seen with these returns and how the rules are set up. So you already have that working against your favor. And then on top of that, it kind of takes away a little bit from the guys that have done it in the past. And the rules were even a little bit different back when like Devin Hester and Josh Cribbs played. But is it as significant now when a guy takes it back to the house? I know it's great that they're involving that play in the game, but does it mean as much? Does it mean as much as like Cordero Patterson from a few years ago, arguably the greatest returner of this past decade? Does it mean as much now as it did when he was taking kickoffs back to the house, when he would only take back, 30 kicks a year? So it's different. I love that the play is more involved, but I understand the other side and the concerns that it has and taking some things away here and there.
I don't have any concerns with how it makes others look in the past look. You have to keep the game interesting. You have to keep evolving, making it better where you can. And I get it. There'll be an asterisk. There'll be an asterisk next to these players that maybe have an incredible return game with the new kickoff rules, if the kickoff rules even stay for past the year, because this is kind of an experimental thing. They could say, nah, didn't like it, sort of like what you said with the UFL. They're scrapping it, right? So we'll see. But I like what Big Al says. I think it's very interesting, the new kickoff rule. I like it, and better for the safety of the players. I think there's going to be a lot of different strategies. And you've always said, and it's a scoring league, man. The NFL just wants to keep scoring points. And we'll see. We'll see how the different strategies evolve on this kickoff game. But so far, so good. And as you can see, with them less, they're only 5 yards apart. There's two guys that can be up to 10 yards from the kickoff team. So you're not going to have those crazy impacts. And then, it just looked like a backyard football game, where this guy, this quick dude out there who can juke everybody, is making his moves. And I don't know, it was a lot of fun. But I hear what you're saying, Jake. Again, there'll be asterisks. There's been asterisks in a lot of sports. The game changes throughout the years. And I don't think it'll take away from Devin Hester and what those greats did, because it'll, for us, we'll just have to keep educating our kids as this game evolves. That
back in our day,
they did it this way, much more impressive, much harder to do.
Brian Mitchell, Devin Hester, Dante
Right.
Hall, right? Like,
Yeah,
look at
exactly.
what they did. Yep.
We can educate them, and there'll be asterisks in the record books. But so far, I haven't heard of one that was returned to the house, and so been fun to watch. We'll see. Weston,
Yeah.
I hope you like that. It was from a little film from the Chiefs and Jaguars, and I thought that was pretty cool to bring that on because we just talked about it last week and in detail. And there was a film that I put out there, or a clip of that show that I put out describing it, but again, I was happy when I saw that. Oh, they can use the T, which is what I thought, but I kind of backtracked after I had talked to you on that show.
Yeah. Yeah. And shout
So,
out to PJ
yeah.
Washington, by the way, too, Mike. He was the guy who returned that kick,
Oh,
that
okay.
knuckleball kick.
Yeah.
He's got an uphill battle in that Jaguars receiving room, but this does open up an opportunity for him as a return man, which he's done in the past. Like, that's kind of what he's also known for. He's a speedster, but what a return by him, 74 yards. That was exciting. That was so fun to watch. So I am here for it just as much as I am not here for it. And I hear both sides of it, but great stuff.
I mean, it's like any business. You're always looking. You're always looking. What can we do? What can we do? How can we improve the product? Improve it. And you got to take chances once in a while. So we'll see. Sounds like
Sure.
most of the folks, I think, out there like it. I know Doggone It says he likes it. I'm not sure where Brett falls. And I think Dennis likes it. And Big Al obviously likes it too. Brett,
Yep.
where you at? Where you at on this? Are you a fan of it or are you not like it? Let me know. By the way, we'll
Shout out to
shout
you
Sean.
guys.
We're going to give Sean a lot of shout outs. We'll shout him out again. He did a fantastic video today talking about the mostly, kind of his reactions, talking about Van Pran, the offensive line. So go check out his video. It's a good little 15 to 18-minute video. So Sean, great job on that. Yeah, the kickoff rule, Brett, for sure. So, Jake, let me just start with saying, calm down, everybody. Calm down. It is preseason. And I'm going to go back in time. When I was just a fan, I wasn't doing podcasts. I was a young man watching Marv Levy guide these Buffalo Bills to 4 straight Super Bowls. In 1990, Jake, Bills were 0-4 in preseason. They never had, through those Super Bowl years, they never had a winning preseason record. Never. And Marv Levy was, he's basically evaluating talent. It's not about winning. And to me, it's not about winning now. There are some things that you could say if I'm looking at the first team, but we'll get into that a little bit more into the starters. But I want everyone to remember it is preseason. This is where you are fine-tuning things, getting game reps against somebody who's trying to beat the heck out of you, not just your own players who are like, I don't want to hit Jake today. I don't want to hurt him that bad. But now you're in a real game situation. So keep that in mind. And, guys like Matt Milano didn't play. Oliver went off after 1 snap. No Daquan Jones. No Von Miller. Terrell Bernard only played 1 series. Greg Rousseau, 6 snaps. Christian Benford, 8 snaps. And Taylor Rapp for 8 snaps. So they weren't in. But the offense was. So I guess that's where we're probably going to spend most of the time, Jake. But I have one thing that I want to talk about here. So I hear this all the time. And again, we've heard that, they don't plan for these games. There was no planning against the Bears. I don't know why. By the way, remember the Bears. This was their second preseason game. Bills have only played 1. Bears have had an extra week of camp. So you can say they're a little more fine-tuned. But where do I have it here? Let's see. Oh, I hear this comment, not wanting to put a lot of film, a lot on tape, so other teams don't know what you're going to do. Jake, let me just say this. Do you really think the Buffalo Bills are revolutionizing the offense, that defensive coordinators aren't knowing what they're going to run? They don't know they got a decent side of Joe Brady's playbook last year, and maybe he changes a few things. Do you not think there's nothing they're going to bring that defenses haven't seen? So I struggle with that. I'm like, why aren't you planning? Why aren't you game planning somewhat to some degree? Why not? I mean, this is how you fine tune. The Bears actually had a preseason game. It was they played only half a game, I think, but still, you had some tape that you can put plan against. You can see what they were doing with the first teamers and that. You couldn't plan for Caleb Williams because this was his first game. But man, that whole thing just cracks me up. Where we can't put anything out there because teams are gonna know what we're doing. Well, guess what? Why don't you just go to the Buffalo Shout, sign up for the $3.99 a month? They'll tell you what they're doing. Curtis Samuel in the backfield trying to be like a Debo Samuel. It's just crazy to me, and it's funny because I would imagine all teams could potentially even have a scout go to training camps. Right?
True.
So
Yeah.
it's funny to me. I mean, I know people are going to say I'm crazy, but I'm just like, seriously, what do you got that no team's seen before that you're going to just, oh my God, can you believe they're doing that? They're killing us out there, guys. Look at this thing. We've never seen it before. Jake, let me throw it to you. I'm talking a lot. What do you think?
I think it's a mix of both. So, I mean, as we saw in the red zone yesterday, they ran pretty vanilla plays. Like it wasn't anything revolutionary, as you said, Mike, right? So, I do think, regular season, maybe they do something a little more creative there in the red zone instead of running just slant routes with their receivers. Because that was a very vanilla play call. And it's basically, hey, just get open. And if you can't, we're just going to kick a field goal. But then you saw like a wide receiver screen throw in the mix and some other things. And you saw some different polling strategies with the offensive line and whatnot. Didn't really work out well. Didn't work in our favor. But so, I think to your point, there is a mix of fine-tuning some things, trying to test some things out, but you don't want to reveal too much to the point where you're just throwing your whole playbook out there, especially in one game. So I think as the preseason goes on, there's going to be a little sprinkle of something in each of those games that we're going to test out just to see how it works in real game time. So I think it's you're 50-50 on that comment. I think some of that is true and some of it is not true.
Right. Yeah. Like I said, I just have a hard time hearing that comment and like, come on now. And again, you got 3 preseason games. I hope your playbook's pretty expanded. Just sprinkle, like you said, a few here, a few there. And then I have a hard time with I'm not planning at all. I'm just going out there, run some vanilla plays, guys. Let's run our base offense, our base defense. And, again, we don't want anyone to know what we're going to do, even on defense. Come on, Sean McDermott's defense has been pretty much the same since he's been with us. Bobby Babich, I don't see venturing away from that too much. So again, maybe we'll send some extra blitzers. Nothing revolutionary, man.
Yeah, right.
All right, that's my thoughts. Sorry, I got on a tangent there. I just hear these things. I'm like, seriously, from a fan.
I gotta address
it. Come
on,
seriously, gotta talk about it.
Yep.
Let's see, Weston, what you saying out there? Brett saying, not sure what to think of the kickoff rule yet, but there's never going to be another Devin Hester or Jacoby Jones. Yeah,
remember
100%.
that. Yeah, rest in peace, Jacoby Jones. By the way, they found out the cause of his death was a cardiovascular issue, I believe. So sad story. Only 40 years old. One of the best returners of the last decade as well. I'd probably throw him right in the mix there. Had a legendary playoff run with the Ravens back in 2012 when they won the Super Bowl. So shout out to him. Jacoby Jones, Lane College, Division II school, I believe. Got drafted in the 3rd round by the Texans. Had a hell of a career as a return man and a deep threat.
Yeah, sad stuff there. Was that today? Did that news happen? Did that break today?
No, it was this past week. They came out with the reason
I haven't
or the
seen
cause.
It. First time hearing of it.
Yeah, sad story for sure.
All right. Let's see. Yes, Hollywood Brown is out for the Chiefs based on Weston, out for 4 weeks with a clavicle dislocation. Yep, I saw that news. I saw that news in our Discord, by the way. If you want to talk sports 7 days a week, Discord's absolutely free. And you can click the link in the description of the show. All right, Jake, well, let's start with the offensive side, because I think that's what we have the most to talk about. I think all the names that I mentioned earlier in the show that weren't playing or limited, those were all defensive players. On the offensive side, the offense, Josh Allen played 1 full quarter. I think he went into a little bit into the second. But what's your thoughts? Talk to me about the offense and what you like, what you didn't like. I'm sure there's going to be a lot on the other side that you didn't like, but talk to me.
Well, I think Dennis hit the nail on the head here. Yeah, I mean, out of all the units, I'm going to start with the bad. I don't like to shed too much negative light on things here, especially with it being preseason. And you know what? You can only say that so many times. I think Sean McDermott said it very well. Like, he was actually pretty pissed off at his press conference yesterday. It was good to see some emotion from him because he basically said, this is not the standard of play that we are trying to, resonate with this Buffalo Bills organization. It doesn't matter if it's preseason, regular season, an exhibition game, just a regular scrimmage. Like, this is, I think it was pretty clear that the team sort of came out a little flat, specifically on the offensive line. And I do agree with what Dennis is saying here. They just lack that push, especially in the run game. There were some good things, and I think there was There were some plays where the offensive line protected well and did the right things. And I do want to give a shout out to our boy Cedric Van Pran Granger, who, by the way, he played 30 snaps yesterday. I do have the snap count on him, and I thought he was probably one of the better offensive linemen that had played yesterday. So I'm hoping, if at the very least, something that we could take away from the offensive line was his performance, and maybe they will move him up to that second team. He needs to at least be on the second unit there because he needs an opportunity to go against some better competition so he can really show what he's made of. Because I think he is a player who can play in this league for a long time. So I want to give him a specific shout out. But yeah, overall, it was tough to watch. I mean, there wasn't a whole lot that we could get going as far as the offensive line. And I know people are going to crap on Shane Buechele, Bobby Boucher, as Brett calls him. But that guy was running for his life all day. And I know it's the third string offensive line that's in there and whatnot, but like it was hard to watch. And then you look at the starting offensive unit, and it was, I mean, they were in there for a while with Mitchell Trubisky even under center. And it was basically the whole first half that they had played, or a good majority of it. And let me tell you, I mean, just as far as the run game goes, we couldn't do anything. And, you go to third and short, you try to run the ball with James Cook, you have David Edwards lead blocking, and we get stuffed in the backfield. I mean, it was just discouraging, to say the least. So that's one thing. Now, on to some of the good. I think, Josh Allen looked as good as he could with the limited amount of time that he was out there. He looked comfortable. It seemed like he had some pretty good chemistry with the receivers. I love the incorporation of the wide receiver screen to Curtis Samuel. Him and Khalil Shakir looked phenomenal. And then, of course, when Josh Allen starts to cook a little bit, starts to get a little competitive, a little too comfortable, he takes a run outside for 7 yards. He did slide, but at that very moment, luckily the quarter ends. Sean McDermott kind of ripped Josh a new one. Said, listen, I don't want you doing anything like that because this is preseason. I don't want you getting injured. So he takes him out of the game. And then, of course, Mitchell Trubisky goes in. So I thought Josh looked good, though, for the most part. And that's hard to say because he didn't play a whole lot. But with the limited time he was in there, I think he did some good things still. I mentioned Khalil Shakir. I mean, he was 3 for 3 on targets, caught 3 passes, 28 yards, was our leading receiver yesterday, which is hilarious. Curtis Samuel, same deal. I think it was 3 for 23 for him, including a 15-yard screenplay, which was awesome to see. We have been missing that element of our offense for quite some time. Want to give a shout out to Frank Gore Jr. too. I think he did a really nice job running the football yesterday. He definitely stood out amongst the backs. Ray Davis did have some nice catches as well. He had a penalty that was called back on him, but then basically kind of evened out. He caught a nice pass for 7 yards. Still was 4th down, but did some nice things. And then, I mean, other than that, there wasn't Tyrell Shavers. I did see him. He had a nice catch on 3rd down that preserved a drive too. So he did some nice things. But that was really it for offense. That's kind of what stood out for me there. Mike, you got any different players to name there?
You mentioned most of them, but just to give you some more numbers behind the scenes there. So if you use PFF as a tool, like you said, Van Pran Granger had a really good outing. I mean, he was the 2nd highest scoring offensive player according to PFF. 75.6 was his total grade, which is fantastic. But take that with a grain of salt. He is going against third stringers as well. But still, of that third line, he was really the only one doing anything there. So I agree with you that hopefully we get to see him getting some second team snaps. Curtis Samuel was the top rated guy. He had a 78 and loved what I saw from Curtis Samuel. Khalil Shakir was number 3 with 73. Frank Gore Jr. was up there with 72. Those are your elite guys for the game yesterday. Yeah. The guys that really struggled, shockingly, I mean, Deion Dawkins was fine. Deion Dawkins and David Edwards were the highest grades on the offensive line. McGovern, although one of the concerns I had, one of the things you had heard in camp was there was some issues with snapping the ball and shotgun and exchanges. Didn't see any of that. Been him and Osiris Torrance had some of your worst scores according to PFF. Osiris, who played 20 snaps, had a 41.4 grade. 41, Jake. You can do better than that, Jake.
I don't know about that, but
I think you could, man. I think you could with your speed and your agility. I think you got this all day. Yeah. Connor McGovern also played 20 snaps, and he had a 50.5. So those two guys according to PFF, were your weak links in yesterday's game when it came to the old line. So take that for what it is. Again, it's PFF. Sometimes we agree, sometimes we disagree, but I kind of agree with what I'm seeing up here from them. Again, Deion Dawkins had a score of 66. He was the highest on the offensive line. David Edwards right behind him with a 65. And their pass blocking was elite. 85.9 for Dawkins and 83. So super elite on the pass blocking. So I agree with you. Everything you said. Loved Khalil Shakir. He had 3 targets, 3 catches. That's what he does. His completion percentage is just so high. You can count on him. I love it. And he's a lot faster than people think, right? Did he take that one?
Yeah.
That guy thought he had him, right? The whoever's covering him. And Khalil just kind of gradually and then just turns it on 0 to 60 in 1.5 seconds and boom, around the side. So I love Khalil. I mean, we've been talking him up since he came with the team, joined the team. And he's just getting better and better. And Josh is you can tell Josh is comfortable with him. Talk to me about Keon Coleman. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah. I did want to mention him, but I did see a cool comparison. I think it was from one of the Fanatics guys. He had mentioned that he felt Khalil Shakir was Amon-Ra St. Brown, like very similar.
Ooh.
And I actually love that comparison. I think they are very similar, where they're tough, gritty. They're willing to do the hard things on the field, like not afraid to get a little dirty, very shifty, crisp route runners, and they catch everything thrown to them. So I love that comparison. I think that is very formidable for sure. Keon Coleman, had a nice catch, got one out of the way, ran a nice little stick route, and did his thing. He did have an opportunity in the end zone, but his feet got tripped up a little bit. And I think there was one play where you could have maybe called, you could have thrown a flag on it.
I think
so. I wasn't.
Yeah.
I wasn't. I didn't think he had a bad performance or anything like that, but he really wasn't in the game for that long either. So, I feel good about him still.
If he doesn't get tripped up in the end zone, which is the one I thought, I mean, because the guy was like on the back of his legs, that's an easy touchdown. That's the type of play I see in them doing, is just throw it high. He'll go up top, but unfortunately, someone's on the back of his legs and kind of dragged him down, and he wasn't able to elevate. So, from our receivers, I mean, the only one, again, he gets one throw to him and drops it, was MVS, right? Dude, come on. And it was a very you got to catch those. It was a short route, pretty simple, and he drops it. So I don't know, Jake, what do you think? Oh, man, in camp, it was 50-50. You hear some great things that he did going deep. You hear drops, and we're seeing it now already. Is he going to make the team? You think he has any shot?
I still think he has a shot, just based on his history and being able to survive in the league for as long as he has. And I'm not saying it's been a great career for him by any means, but I do think he at least has that to weigh on. And it sounds like during practice, I've heard some good things at least. Now, obviously, it matters what you do in the game, and what he did in the game yesterday was not good. So I think that last roster spot at the receiver position is really going to come down to it's going to be between him and Chase Claypool. So whether Chase Claypool can get healthy, that is TBD. But again, MVS, I think Weston doing the laughing emojis there. Yeah, he already kind of knows the drill with that.
Yeah, so I like what Sophia says. She said she's watched all 22. Love that. Had some awful blocking, and he had. So let me just give you his score. He out of 39 offensive players, he was the 36th worst score. Oof. And he played 29 snaps, so he is crazy. He had substantial amount of snaps, just didn't see a lot of balls going his way. But yeah, he had a 43.5 PFF score. So pretty bad.
Have the snap count here too, Mike, and he was the leading receiver in terms of offensive plays. He was on the field for 29 offensive plays. That was the most amongst receivers. So
crazy.
Not good. Yeah, not
good at all. Because if you're not catching the ball, you better be blocking well, and obviously he's not. So I just don't know. The only thing is, at least he's been available. Whereas, Chase Claypool, I just don't know, man. If the guy can't get on the field, how can you sign Chase Claypool to the team if he's not played at all through preseason? How can you take up a roster spot with that guy, Jake?
Yeah, no, I hear you. I don't think you can. The best ability is availability, right? So it's hard to justify that.
I just don't know how a guy who's been in the NFL that long, who's made some big plays. I mean, he made a big play in the Chiefs game last year in the playoffs. Can you not work? How do you not work on that? It's like that's what you do for a living. And somehow he's been
Right.
on 3 elite teams, and I don't know. I just don't
And it's
know.
not like he's played with bad quarterbacks. He's played with now 3 Hall of Fame quarterbacks: Aaron
Yes, I
Rodgers,
know.
Pat Mahomes, and Josh Allen. And looking at his career, he is as 50-50 as it gets. I mean, you look at some of his years in Green Bay, Aaron Rodgers MVP seasons, Mike. I think there was 2 seasons where he was under a 50% catch rate in Green Bay. So, I mean, you talk about Gabe Davis being a 50-50 guy. I would
Yeah.
take Gabe Davis all
Oh,
day
heck yeah.
over MVS.
Heck yeah.
So, yeah, it's
Dennis,
tough. I
Dennis.
agree, Dennis. I
Yeah.
agree.
Yeah. No, no overrating him. I just the only issue, Dennis, I have is like if Claypool doesn't see the field, he's got 2 more preseason games. He doesn't play. You just signing them based on upside. You haven't seen anything from him. So I don't know. That's a difficult one, but
Yeah.
I just don't see how you. I know they gave him a guaranteed 1-year contract. That's envious, that is. But I also saw us. Who was the tight end a few years ago that we invested in?
OJ Howard.
OJ
OJ
Howard,
Howard.
and
Yeah.
we signed him to a pretty good deal, and we let him
Oh,
go. We let
it's
him go.
rough.
So
Yeah.
it could happen again. Were there, we talked about the starters, but any other, we talked about Van Pran. It's hard to even pick out anyone on the second team. Did anyone on the second team offensive line impress you at all?
Tylen Grable. I thought Tylen
Did he?
Grable looked okay. He was the tackle that we took out of UCF. He was a
Okay.
6th rounder for us, and he had some moments. I think he actually played the most snaps out of all offensive linemen. He had like 35 snaps to, I think Van Pran played 30, so they were pretty close there. So yeah, I thought he looked okay, and obviously he's a very raw prospect, so I'm not going to put too much stock into him. Now, someone I felt like really did not look good, who is a second teamer, is Ryan Vandermark. I mean, there were moments where he's not even out of his stance. And I know the one was more so on Alec Anderson for not really knowing the snap count and him snapping the ball early, or maybe there was some confusion on the offensive line there. So Ryan Vandermark was just there, just standing, didn't even move. But there were other moments where the same type of situation happened, and that was rough because I felt like last year when he did come in for those couple plays where he had to come in and play tackle for us, he did an okay job. So a little discouraged by that, but hopefully he gets right. But Tylen Grable, want to give him a shout out. Thought he did a decent job for a 6th-round rookie.
Yeah, like you said, he had 35 snaps. He was middle. I mean, he's above middle of the pack from a PFF perspective. They gave him a 61.3, so pretty decent, like you said. Yeah, I think. I mean, I'm just looking down the list here from PFF. There's or like you said, Ryan Vandermark. He was the 25th worst out of 25th out of 39. Did struggle. Who's the other guy? Alec
Anderson.
Alec Anderson. He seemed to struggle a bit.
He had a rough go too.
Right.
Yeah.
And so to me, this is why you upgrade, promote SVG to get Cedric Van Pran Granger. Sorry, I'm saying his name wrong. Cedric Van Pran Granger. You elevate him and get him some shots next week, and on the second team at least. Got to see that, right? I think he earned it.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I also think Alec Anderson, he's a former guard converted to center too. So I feel like that he's having some issues kind of converting to the center position. And you talk about the solid play from SVP. If you're not going to at least promote him for his solid play, at least promote him because Alec Anderson did not look comfortable in the center position, right?
Yeah, you have 2 reasons to do it. 2 reasons. Alec Anderson was killing it. Now Will Clapp had a 18 snaps and actually had a very good PFF score.
Now, was he playing guard? I thought I saw him playing a little bit of guard yesterday.
I'm only seeing him at center, maybe.
Yeah.
They don't have their splits on the view that I'm looking at right now.
I'll have to go back. I haven't watched the All-22 just yet, so I need to definitely do that.
Yeah, I love that people are watching the All-22. It's pretty cool.
It's great.
Yeah, Sophia, way to go. So, Jake, I think, if anything, I'm not so worried about the O-line, the starters yet. Again, I'm glad that they're playing because we knew whenever there's a change on the O-line, you need time to just get the chemistry right. It happens with every team that changes up their their O-line. I mean, the Chiefs have done it multiple times with their bookends, and they always seem to get off to a slow start. Then everything clicks, and they get rolling. So I'm glad that they're playing them. That was one of the things, I was for them playing the starters in the first preseason game with so many changes. So I like that. And I hope they continue. I hope they play week 2 as well. And I don't see why they wouldn't. Do you?
No. I think game 3, none of the starters will play. Like, that is the game
Yeah.
for guys to solidify their spot on the team. Those are the bubble guys that'll play the most. So I definitely expect to see maybe even a whole half in the second preseason game.
Last guy I want to talk about, because I saw some good. I mean, I don't think it was his fault. I actually thought he was really good in the past game, which is what everyone's been talking about, and that was Ray Davis.
Yeah.
Nobody could run the ball, so I don't put that on him. His rushing numbers were horrific, but I put that on the O-line more than him. But out of the backfield, dude, catching the ball, I loved it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was nice. It was good to see, and that was a skill set that I felt like people didn't talk enough about. Like, they talked about him being a bowling ball and a different stature than James Cook and more of a goal line threat, but this dude could run routes out of the backfield. Like, we saw it yesterday. It's very impressive. He's got good hands, and he was. I mean, he caught the most passes on the team. Him and Frank Gore Jr., believe it or not, both caught 3 passes yesterday.
Yeah,
and Khalil Shakir. So
I
they're all
said
tied.
I said the last guy I'd talk about, but I lied. I'm sorry. Zach Davidson, right?
Yeah.
He in camp, you've been hearing all this good stuff about him. Didn't really do anything special. It's kind of hard when you have, look, Mitch and our third stringer, was it Shane Bueller? What's his name?
Shane
What?
Buechele.
Shane
Ferris
Buechele.
Bueller. We'll call him Ferris
I
Bueller.
get it. That's Brett. He's throwing me off there. But I mean, when you have those two thrown to you, you're not really going to have a great opportunity to shine. But he didn't do anything special, so we'll see. There's still time for him. But there's a lot of talk coming out from the beat writers at camp just how good he was. I mean, he is a big dude, 6'7". He looks slim, good blocker. But again, it's going to be hard to overthrow any of our tight ends right now.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, Quentin Morris could have had a touchdown yesterday, and I think if Josh Allen is in the game, he's hitting him in stride, and that's 6
absolutely
all day.
What a horrible throw. I mean, come on, man. The guy was just wide open.
Mm-hmm.
So anyhow, again, that's the offensive side of things. Keep it together, people. It's preseason. Keep it together. And if you didn't catch what I said earlier, the 1990 Buffalo Bills had never had a winning preseason record. They were actually 0-4 with their best team that should have won a Super Bowl. 0-4 in the preseason. So again, Marv Levy wasn't a big fan of it. I don't really stress about it anymore. Now, we'll see. They'll make adjustments, and we'll start seeing some things improve. It's going to be what? We got Pittsburgh this week?
Pittsburgh. Yep.
Pittsburgh. So good defense, well-coached team. Let's see what happens there. Let's see.
Absolutely.
What's Sophia saying
and
there?
Great point. The Bears do have a very underrated defense. Not only their secondary, but their run defense is very good. So definitely encouraging to see what we did. And by the way, we saw Tremaine Edmonds have a nice pass deflection against Josh Allen yesterday. How about that?
Oh, he was loving that. Oh, for sure.
Yep.
I don't know who he got. I mean, he just came on the blitz, and again, I'm not sure who was at fault. There was someone in the middle. I don't know if that was on Edwards, or I'm sorry, McGovern, or Torrance, or even the running back didn't pick it up.
Right.
But it was a nice play. Of course, dude. You see how high? I mean, that was always the thing about Tremaine Edmonds. First of all, he's big, arms, and dude, he elevates. Good luck hitting the ball over him.
Right. That's why it was,
Yeah,
it was an effective tenure for him here in Buffalo, specifically because of the coverage skills. You got a 6'5" middle linebacker in the middle, just like wreaking havoc. I mean, that's, tough to throw across that guy or over him, to say the least.
Yeah, I love it. The Patriots lost every preseason game and then went 17-0. And do you think, I know Weston's out there, he's a Chiefs rep. The Chiefs lost their first game. They lost it by double digits. Do you think the Chiefs are worried?
No.
Chiefs fans are worried? Not at all. Not at all.
Weston's definitely not worried. He said Andy Reid and Spags had a tougher game yesterday, but they're probably saving their tricks for the regular season, right, Mike?
Yeah, saving their tricks. Like, well, let's get into the defensive side. Again, the offense, in both of our opinions and everyone else in the world out there, just wasn't ready to play. Like, they didn't come with any energy, like you said. So I'm sure McDermott's gonna be a tough week of practice. And I like that we're actually. So talk to me a little bit about these because maybe I've heard of them, but what do they actually do in these joint practices, Jake? How physical do they get? What's that look like before you're about to play the team in the second preseason game? So how does that work?
Yeah, you usually see a lot more fights in these joint practices. Like it gets a little chippy, it gets scrappy. I don't know if you saw any of the footage from this past week with the Giants and Lions practicing against each other, but you got two gritty teams as it is. Dayball instilling that grittiness, Dan Campbell instilling that grittiness, and the players are replicating that attitude. So I think Malik Neighbors he went up to guys and he's causing, starting fights and stuff and smacking guys on the back. And I think there were several advertised fights from that joint practice. And it does get scrappy, it does get chippy,
Yeah.
and then it leads right into the game. It's the same type of deal. So it's good. I think this is good coming off a week like we just had because we really did get out physicaled. And Pittsburgh, them. Mike Tomlin, that is what he preaches. It is physicality, physicality, physicality. So I expect this week of practice to be pretty rough and go. It's going to be full bore. And the Bills haven't done a whole lot of that. So this will be a nice test, especially for some of those bubble guys to see where they're at and, really strap on the pads for real.
I'm wondering, Jake, do they just do the regular like 10, 11 on 11, 7 versus 7, like in those joint practices, or are they actually scrimmaging?
Yeah. They do like scrimmages. They have
Okay.
actual refs that come out and they'll do, full on scrimmage, different
Okay.
situations, and they'll run it like, it's if you ever look at like a practice script and then you have the practice script, which lays out the actual schedule. But then behind that, there's often, different plays for each situation that you're running. So it'll have, 7-on-7, and it'll have all the plays scripted out, and then it'll have down and distance for each of those plays. Even, so far as to have the clock and, that type of situation going. So like,
Right.
hey, this is a 2-minute drill. We're going 4th and 2 on the, opponent's 20-yard line or something like that. And, they'll run all of those different situations, especially in those joint practices, because it's a really good opportunity to get a look.
All right. Well, I actually like that they're going against Pittsburgh. Like I said, you're going to get a real test there.
Yep.
Dennis, I fully agree. The preseason does not matter. It's about roster development and growth.
Mm-hmm.
I agree. Doesn't matter. Just to get you ready. Get you ready. And let's see, and be able to evaluate those depth pieces that you have. Because you got to go from, I don't know when the cut is this year, Jay. Can they start cutting people anytime? But I know they don't have that gradual cut like they've done in the past. But you have to go
Yep.
from, what do they have, 91 now or 93, something like that? And they have to
91.
get down
Yeah.
to 53 at some point in time.
Yep.
I would think they could start cutting players because you're not gonna, if you're not gonna, this guy's not gonna be your team, he's not gonna be your practice squad, let him go and hopefully have a chance somewhere else.
My only rebuttal to that is you want to have as many guys on your roster as you possibly can because you want to get a look at every possible player you can because this is really the time to do so. And it sucks because it does limit the amount of reps for some other guys that
Yeah.
are those actual bubble players. So while it's obviously a good thing, I think it does limit your opportunity to see some guys that might be more of those gem players. So
All right.
they won't typically make a significant amount of cuts until right after that third preseason game.
That's fair. And then Sophia, yeah, I mean, you see Dawkins down and you're like, oh my God, one first play, and then you're thinking, I knew they shouldn't have played the starters. Everyone's thinking that. I knew it. But
Yeah.
I'm glad he did. I'm glad he was cleared to come back in, and it just made sense not to throw him out there once that happened. And yeah, Dennis, the Steelers will definitely test them there. And Sophia, the best time to have an awful penalty extravaganza is week 1 of preseason. But butts will be chewed, laps will be run. Absolutely. Absolutely. I have no doubt that McDermott will make sure that what we see against the Steelers going to be a little bit different. A little different.
No doubt.
And we were also afraid. I mean, I think all of us held our breath when Josh Allen decided to run the ball, right? You're like, oh my God, please fall down. But you know what? Even on a slide, people can get hurt. So you just get worried.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
I don't know if you ever played baseball. And if you ever slid and you slid wrong, you didn't use the right technique. Ooh, I've sprained some ankles. I've done some damage. So yeah, you're always concerned when you see Josh. So we were holding our breath there.
Oh yeah, beer league softball. I slid one time. I had shorts on, and
Yeah.
I had a cut up the side of my calf, and it was there for probably a good 3 weeks. It was rough. That was brutal.
All right, Jake, let's switch over because, I think there's a lot more positive on the defensive side. Again, I already mentioned we had a lot of starters not in the lineup. And I think we saw a lot of positive things. So let me throw it to you, your thoughts on the defense.
Yeah, I saw Weston in here earlier ask if Dwayne Carter had played, and that's the dude who stood out to me the most. I love what this kid is bringing to the table, and the best part is he could play any position interior wise on that defensive line. And I'm going to go back to the conversation I had with Sean yesterday. We talked about Eddie Oliver and whether he needed to play with someone alongside him that was bigger, bigger body, whether that's Austin Johnson or Daquan Jones. My answer to that is no. Put in Dwayne Carter. Like, he has proven that he is a baller and he could play at this level. And although he's not the biggest guy in the world, he still has good average size, and he eats up with those offensive lines. I mean, he's done a fantastic job, I think, this entire, preseason, just in camp and this past game. So I was super impressed with him. And I actually was looking, and it looks like he got the most snaps out of any defensive player yesterday. So yeah, I'm super encouraged by him. I was really excited when we drafted him in the 3rd round, and I think he is an absolute gem. So I want to see more Dwayne Carter, and you can still rotate those other guys in, but he, to me, was the guy that stood out the most, without a doubt. As far as actual starters go, we didn't get a whole lot of time with those guys out on the field, but one that I guess stood out, it was kind of rough altogether, but just in run coverage was Rasul Douglas. He did a pretty solid job there. He had a nice tackle in the backfield, but otherwise it was kind of tough. It was kind of tough to watch. AJ Epinesa sort of looked lost out there. He was getting baited a lot. Austin Johnson did not do a super good job. And yeah, he just, I think he'll be an okay player. I just don't think he is our starting defensive tackle come week 1. So that's about all I got for the defense, Mike. Not a whole lot to go off of here. Oh, you're on mute.
Sorry, I'm drinking my Coke. I don't want you to hear me drinking my Coke, so I mute everything. But I'm surprised you're not hyping up one of your favorite linebackers.
Javon Solomon.
No, I mean, yes, let's talk about him.
Yep.
One of your favorite linebackers in the middle. You were high on him out of college. You love him. Baylon Spector.
Yes.
Guess what? Huge. He was at the top of the PFF list. Scored the highest.
How could I forget?
Had 22 total reps, snaps. Scored a 75.5. And he looked pretty good out there. His problem has just been health. And of course, it's hard to get time when you have Matt Milano and Terrell Bernard, but he shined. I don't think we'll ever see AJ Klein again, because I love that, we got these young linebackers for our depth pieces there. And then you talked about him, Javon Solomon, the edge rusher, right? Yep. Had a really good game. He had a lot of snaps out there too. Let's see, he was one of the top guys. Yeah, he was number 6.
I should have mentioned him. I felt that he was the best defensive end yesterday for the Buffalo Bills. And I know he was playing against 2nd and 3rd teams, but I think he had the best game out of all ends.
Yeah, and then guy we've been talking about this offseason, Kaiir Elam. He was number 2 at the top. Played a lot of snaps too. Played 23 snaps. And had a really nice grade from PFF. But even from the eye test, you can see whenever they were throwing the ball his way, the only thing I look for is when I see a flag. I'm like, oh no, please don't let it be on Kaiir. And it wasn't. He kept it clean. I think he's doing a great job. And again, just a nice, I can see this kid replacing Rasul Douglas next year if the Bills don't re-sign him, or there's always injuries. I don't think we'll miss a beat if he has to come in. So far, what we've heard in camp, transferred to the field. And that's always hard. Like we heard a lot about McGovern. Didn't really transfer that great to the field, at least for week 1 in preseason. But Kaiir Elam, the story continues, my friend. Looking good there. Let's see here. Who else did I have? Damar Hamlin. Damar Hamlin played 20 snaps. I think if you're worried at all, one position, I'm not so worried about the D-line. I'm not worried about the linebackers. I'm not worried about our corners at all. It's that safety room still, right?
Yep.
Rapp was only in there for 8 snaps, but I don't know. They had a young kid. What was his name? Williamson,
Yeah, Ryan
and
Williamson. Yeah.
right. So even though PFF didn't like him too much, I thought he looked pretty good out there.
Yeah.
Right?
Outside of the dirty hit, which,
Yeah, come
he
on.
he yeah, that was tough. At least he led with his shoulder, but even so, I mean, I felt like he had enough time to kind of let up on that. He just still ran through Deontay
Yeah,
Carter. Lucky, yeah, he was okay, but
yeah,
yeah, that was rough. That's a one-way ticket of getting cut right there if you keep doing stuff like that.
yeah. And then you're right. So here's a case where PFF says one thing and the eye test doesn't. AJ
Mhm.
Epinesa, according to the PFS, was the third highest defensive player. He played plenty of snaps. Well, I say plenty, 17. That's a lot for a guy that I think you thought would be the starter. It doesn't appear that he is the number one guy on the starters, but I didn't see anything off the edge from him. I mean, we didn't get much pressure. I just didn't see him shine like I thought I might, at least for that game. And I know you said it as well. So that's just where PFF and the eye test differ. Um,
Yep.
what's your thoughts? I mean, we thought that he might be the starter over
So
Vaughn, right? Vaughn's
wasn't
rotating. Go ahead.
he came out with the starting defense, right? It was him and Groot. They were the two starting defensive ends
Was
yesterday,
he?
wasn't that?
Okay,
Yeah,
maybe he was.
I'm
Maybe
pretty
I
sure they
missed
were.
it. But he was
Yeah.
also playing a lot more. So again, you know,
Mhm.
if you're one of the starters, I would expect you to be pulled a little sooner. But he played, like I said, 17 snaps, and I just didn't see anything um, shine. So we'll see. We'll see what we get out of
Yeah.
him because you expect to see him more snaps this year, right?
Yeah, oh, absolutely. I know they're still going to go to their rotational usage of these guys, but I would just like to see him get more than 60% of the snaps. I think that would be a nice thing, especially because we did go out of our way to re-sign him when he could have probably signed elsewhere for a little more money. I think we still got him at a bargain for what we got him for. So I uh I would like to see him be that guy, be that starting defensive end like Greg Rousseau. Like there's not even a question that he is the other starting left defensive end for us, right? So I want AJ Epinesa to solidify that, and we can still rotate those other guys in. I think we will, but I want to see him get over 60% of the snaps this year.
All right. I agree with you. I agree. Like you said, preserve Daquan Jones with Dwayne Carter, right? And also do the same with Vaughn. Vaughn, I don't think needs to start. You just need to bring him in certain situations. Let Epinesa and Groot take more of those snaps.
Yep.
Anyone you thought disappointed you on the defense?
We'll go back to this.
Yeah.
This is a great point by
All right.
Sophia. Disappointing wise, I would say Austin Johnson. Just because I felt like this guy could have added some juice to that defensive line, and he just was getting absolutely bullied in the middle there. Was not impressed with him. Elianku did not have a good game either. I thought he got beat quite a few times. Um, Kingsley Jonathan, he struggled a lot. I know he
He
got a little banged
did.
up too
He
yesterday. He
did.
probably had his worst game as a Bill yesterday. It was rough. It was rough to watch. I feel bad. I'm just naming all defensive linemen right now, but yeah, from both sides, offensive line and defensive line, there weren't as many good as there were bad, unfortunately. So I am hoping this next week is a bounce back week for both offensive line and defensive line.
Yeah, so Austin Johnson, 25 snaps. Believe it or not, he was one of only three that had a hurry, and the other one was Dwayne Carter. I
Yep.
don't think we have any sacks at all. I'm looking real quick. Um, yes, one sack from Dorian Williams.
Oh yeah, he was credit. Yeah, he kind of just pushed Tyson Bajan out of
Yeah,
bounds. Yep.
yeah, that's it though. Not a lot of sacks.
Yep.
That's always concerning as well. Um, I want to ask you one last thing, and that was Caleb Williams. What's your thoughts
Mhm.
on him, man?
I thought he looked
Oh,
pretty good. He
sorry.
looked
Sorry. Let's go back to
yeah.
Sophia's question before we
Oh,
forget.
yeah, yeah. Let's talk about this
Let's talk
because
about that.
I 100% agree. What an underrated move by the Bills. Bringing in John Perry, who has worked as head of officiating and as a high-ranking NFL official, and throughout the tenure of his career. Yeah, I mean, 2 for 2 on the challenges, and 2 challenges that I feel like initially you didn't really question it with your eyes, right? Like we just assumed, the one catch was a catch, and that was that. But Yeah, going 2 for 2 on those challenges, especially with Sean McDermott's record at times challenging stupid plays, right? I think this was a really, really good move by the Bills, and absolutely, it definitely is a difference between maybe 1 to 2 wins this year.
Yeah, love it. Thank you, Sophia. So yeah, let's talk about Caleb Williams because it's funny in our Discord. Um, the national media is just having a day. Um, Super Bowl, the Bears are Super Bowl bound. He's the
Yeah.
next Pat Mahomes. But I'll throw it to you first, and I'll give you my comments.
Yeah, I think he looked comfortable. I will say that. But shout out to the boys up front because our defensive line really wasn't helping the case at all. But I'll say this. Yeah, I think there were some throws where it's like, okay, this guy's a good improviser. And one throw that really stood out to me was when he rolled out and he threw an absolute rope to Cole Kmet. Like that was an impressive. That was an NFL throw. I'll say that. So yeah, I think he did some really nice things. I'm not ready to crown him as the best, the next best thing, but definitely would be encouraged if I'm a Chicago Bears fan.
I mean, yeah, the play that broke the internet yesterday was him kind of like looked like the play was going nowhere, and he does this little Pat Mahomes over his
Yeah,
shoulder, little
DeAndre.
screenplay to the running back, and boom, it goes for big yardage. But yeah, I agree
Yep.
with you. I mean, I think the Bears have something special there. The game wasn't too big for him. He looked calm. Didn't what rolled was looking to pass first. I like that with rookies that they're not just like, all right, it's over, I'm running. No, he looked calm. He looked ready for the game. So I think the Bears should be super excited. But the national media will pick up on everything, man. They pick up on
Oh, of
everything.
course. They
I'm
want to
sure.
run with that,
I'm
especially
sure
with Hard
they're.
Knocks too. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure they're looking at that 33-6, and they're like, I can hear it now. Nick Wright. Um, I told you the Bills weren't going to do anything. Getting blown out 33-6 in preseason. Nick, come on, man.
Yeah,
Seriously.
that's crazy. And yeah, stay tuned because tomorrow night, every Tuesday night, or no, I'm sorry, in 2 days, every Tuesday night, Hard Knocks with the Chicago Bears. So this episode, it'll feature this matchup between the Bears and the Bills. So
Oh,
definitely be sure to watch that one.
there you go. So they got some great. Is this the first show?
Second episode.
Second episode.
Yep.
All right. You know what? Do you watch Hard Knocks all the time?
Oh yeah. I love it. It's great. It's really good, like insight. When you, especially, I will say this, like the off-season one that they did with the Giants, I thought that was fantastic because you got to hear some of the strategy, especially when it came to the draft and like ranking prospects. And Joe Shane used to work with the Buffalo Bills, so it almost kind of aligns with what you would expect Brandon Bean to think like. So it was really cool to watch. And yeah, now that it's preseason, of course, I'm watching it. I'm hyped up. I love it.
Yeah. Yeah, Sophia. He I didn't know what to expect with the rookie that was so hyped, but
Yeah.
he looked right now. I could say, all right, he's got a great start, and again, I think sky's the limit, man. This kid's gonna be good. You can see it.
Yeah, I want to give a shout out to Steven Carlson. Yeah, no one talked about him on the broadcast. I don't know why. Kids from Jamestown, New York, Mike. My brother Blake actually played against him in the championship for their district, the AA championship. They played at the Bills Stadium, so he's no stranger to playing there, and he absolutely lit it up, that kid. I remember watching him in high school play. And then he goes and plays at Princeton, and he's a receiver there. And when he came in the NFL, because he had the height and the frame, they decided to make him a tight end. And he's already made a highlight reel catch with the Cleveland Browns. I know he got put on SportsCenter and everything as like a top 10 play, and it was super cool because everyone talked about it back here in Buffalo because he's a hometown kid. But yeah, now he's got a shot with the Bears and almost had a fantastic catch on a last-ditch effort play there yesterday. I think he did end up having one catch in addition to that too. But yeah, it was cool to see him out on the field for sure.
It's kind of funny. You know what they say, almost doesn't count, guys. Come on.
I know,
Almost. Right? Was it
only in horseshoes?
Horseshoes and grenades is what I always say.
Yeah. Yes.
Right.
Yep.
So, all right, everyone. You're going to be going into the office tomorrow. The folks that aren't Bills fans that are there, they're going to be, where you live, depending on where you live. If you go to Buffalo, you're all going to kind of like be okay. But you go to work somewhere outside of New York, those people that know that you're a Bills fan are like 30-36. What happened? Just tell them it's preseason. Talk about how, I think we mentioned the Patriots had a perfect season, almost ruined by in the Super Bowl when they were 0-4. Buffalo Bills in the 90s. It's not about winning in preseason, it's about evaluating talent and getting game ready. So I think we'll see something better this week, Jake, out on the field. And the Steelers are really going to be a good telling sign of how we're progressing. And don't get me wrong, like you said, the Bears, somebody, I think Sophia, was the number one run defense last year.
Yeah.
And they've only gotten better. That team got better in a hurry. We didn't even talk about the offensive weapons that Caleb Williams has. DJ Moore, Roma Dunzi. Who's the third guy? They have a third good
Keenan Allen.
Keenan Allen, right?
Yeah.
What a perfect situation for any rookie quarterback to start his career. Oh my goodness.
And the offensive line is pretty good too. I mean, you got Darnell Wright, who was a really good rookie last year. He did have a big penalty in this game yesterday. They got our guy Ryan Bates, but I don't think he actually started at center for them yesterday.
Yeah, I was curious if Bates. I knew he was on there, and I'm like, I didn't have a chance to go look and see if he played any snaps. But I mean, I think they're gonna be a good team. They're gonna compete. So anyhow, that kind of does it, Jake. We're gonna keep it a little over an hour. I know we have the AFC East Summit on Tuesday, so check out those guys. We've got Jake, Anthony, Keith, and maybe Tyler back again for another one for the Pats. Good stuff going on there. And of course, we got the Red, White, and Ruthless. And Jake, I believe Red, White, and Ruthless goes live on Saturday. And I think we got our first fantasy football show coming up this Wednesday. And I think we have it's either our first mock draft or the mock drafts next week. I had to talk to Chris. So fantasy football will be back. And again, if you want to talk to us all week long, check out the Discord. It's free. It's friendly. We keep it friendly. We want everyone to feel like they can come there and talk about anything. And again, there's people talking 7 days a week, including Jake. Jake's big fan of that. He's in there all the time. Weston.
Listen, I love it. Weston, especially, by the way, you want a one-stop shop for all Chiefs news. Shout out to our boy Weston Brewster. Absolute stud. We're going to get you on the show eventually here soon, too. Once you get that mic and camera figured out, sir, it's about time. Okay. We need a Chiefs rep on the show. I know Chad does a great job too. Shout out to Chad, but you guys are the best. And I will say this, I'm going to go out on a limb. I don't want to praise the Chiefs too much this show, but I have to say, very friendly fan base. And we appreciate the hell out of you guys.
Yep. And we have a Chiefs thread. We have a Fins thread now. Can you believe it? I don't know what to think of that, but we do. By the way, I'm putting out this prediction right now. I'm ending it this way. Kyer Elam will lead the Buffalo Bills with interceptions this year, Jake. He's going to lead the team in interceptions.
Okay. I like that bet, Mike. I comped him to Jimmy Smith, former corner for the Ravens. It took him till year 3 to really get activated, and he was a 12-year NFL vet, had a very solid career, and I think that's going to be the career path for Kyer Elam. So I'm with you on that. Let's go. How many interceptions? What, 4 or 5?
I'm going to go with 5.
Woo!
Going 5. Going 5.
Okay. All right.
Dad's laughing at that one. Come on, Dad. You got to put some predictions out there. If you believe in someone, come on, throw it out there. Good to see you, Dad. Glad you were watching. Sophia, thank you for the nice comment. Love these old school Nichols City. Old is mostly me.
Stop it.
But Jake, you would think he's been around since the 60s. He knows everything. He's an encyclopedia. Like, I believe Jake is just like I said. I don't know. Maybe he's only 30. What's the age? 30, Jake? Did we just turn 30 recently?
Just turned 31.
31.
31 big ones, Mike. Getting
old.
I don't
know. You're 31, living in like a 70-year-old's body. No, 70-year-old mind living in a 31-year-old body. That's what it is.
I like that. Although my wife says I'm a child, so I don't know if that really aligns, but I'm with you on that. I think historically, the brain. There's a guy named Joe Horrigan. He's a pro football historian, and I always wanted to be just like him because he knows everything. Like, this guy is a research phenom when it comes to anything NFL related. Like, he goes back to the 20s and 30s, and that's the level I want to be at.
Well, you'll get there. So Sophia says she's good with 5. Dennis is saying 6. All right, I love it, Dennis.
Okay, wow.
Yeah, he's
a lot of love for Kyer.
Definitely an old soul. By the way, again, if you're new to the channel, please smash that like button, drop a nickel, and subscribe. And let me talk about some of our friends before I say goodbye. First of all, my dad. Thanks for joining us, Dad. My dad, SoCal Saber. You can go check out his show, Believe it or not, my dad's been working hard at YouTube for 4 years doing reviews of board games, and I just love it. He brings the families back to the table. So if you want to check him out, I'm going to add his link in the description of the show. But check it out. If board games, I'm talking war games, anything you can think of type of game. If you have a question, like, hey, Bill, I'm looking to get the family back at the table, want something simple. I have ages, kids that are 8 and 9 plus adults. What would be good for that? He'll get you set up, man. It's just fantastic. He does some video stuff as well, video games. But great show. Check it out. And then again, Go Bills podcast. You want to go check them out. They help support this channel and they promote it all the time. We got to promote them. Go Bills podcast. Check them out. And our friend Sean Kula over at the Red, White, and Bills. He's done some recent videos, so go check this out as well. All right, Jake. Hopefully we took care of Sean. I don't think he's gonna, say we're not shouting him out
No
anymore.
complaints. No complaints.
Exactly.
The comments, Sean.
Exactly.
I don't want to
All right,
hear
everyone.
it, man.
Take care. We'll see you soon. Go Bills.
Go Bills.